Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to take another look at the live search feature in Tana. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the parent and the descendants search operator that we can use in Tana. What the parent and the descendant search operators allow us to do is basically two types of searches. The first one is something I call a pull search. And what it does is it takes in nodes from all around your workspace and brings them into the live search. And the other one is something I call a bubble search. And basically what it does is allows you to bubble up content that lives in one specific section of a workspace. We're going to look at these types of searches using one specific Supertag system as an example, and that is one for meeting nodes, for collaborative meeting nodes. What I'm using here is a slightly adapted version of a Supertag system or Tana pattern that Fei-Ling Zheng has put into the Tana pattern library. Link down below for that. And I'm going to walk you through the Supertag system, and then I'm going to show you how that Supertag system interfaces with these two types of searches that I just mentioned. All right, so let's look at the Supertag system first. What we have here is one tag for meetings. Then we have a note tag that is extended by these for other tags, agenda item for things you want to discuss in a meeting, and then highlight, follow-up, and resource, notes you might take during a meeting. And then we have a final super tag for members. Again, this is doing this in a collaborative setting with your team, for example, and we have a tag for that. So that's the Supertag system. And now let's jump straight into the demo to see how you can use it and what it does with regards to the different types of searches we can do. So here's the demo, and we have a design review of my website as an example, and that is tagged as a meeting. We have a date for the meeting, which is today, the day I'm recording the video. The meeting status is next up, and there's two team members, me and Tom, who's a fictional team member. And here you see in the default content of the meeting super tag, we have three nodes set up, two search nodes, one for the agenda and one for the summary. And then we have notes here that I took during this example meeting. So jumping quickly into the definition of the super tag, again, we have the agenda here, we have the summary here as a search node, and then we have a notes node. All right, so what does the agenda search do? The agenda search is an example of a pull search, right? It pulls in agenda items from around the graph, right? So one added today, one added yesterday, and one added on Friday. And the way it does this is by looking for things with the agenda item tag, of course, and things that are not done. And it looks at a meeting field, at the meeting field of the agenda item super tag that is set to parent. And this is the first thing I want to highlight, right? By using the parent search operator, you can refer to the parent node of the agenda search node, right? So agenda is indented below design review of cortexfutura.com of this node here. And so this parent here means give me every agenda item where the meeting field of that agenda item is set back to moving up here, design review of cortexfutura.com, right? And if I collapse this here, you see that here for Discuss Tana Fundamental Series, the meeting is set to design review of cortexfutura.com. So this is what the parent search operator lets you do, right? It lets you refer back to the original thing the search is nested under. And as you can see, these 3 different items are from all around the graph, right? So this was added to the daily node on yesterday, and then previous day we have what steps we can take to document our current setup better. And all of these 3, wherever they are, they get pulled in here for the agenda. One neat thing that this allows to do, if you pull in the agenda items from all around the graph, is that you can do Shift Tab and you get these added here below. And what this allows you to do is that you can have a search looking for every kind of agenda item, even if it isn't specifically connected to a meeting, and only connected or deal with it by unreferencing it here and saying, okay, I'm going to collect these 2 as the things we're actually going to discuss, and this third one we're not going to discuss, right? It shows you which things that could be possible agenda items you actually want to talk about. That is quite neat as a setup in my experience. Now, the second type of search that I mentioned is the bubble search, right? That bubbles up things from one specific subsection of the graph. And in this example here, that is in the summary section. So if you look here in the summary, I want to pull in everything that is discussed in the meeting that is a highlight, a follow-up, or a resource. So that I have a nice, again, summary of the important things that we discussed during the meeting. Now, the way to do this is that you can look for everything that is a highlight, a follow-up, or a resource that lives below the design review of Cortex Futura meeting node. Because if I only looked for these 3 tags, it would pull in from every meeting that we ever did, right? But what I want is a search that only looks for highlights, follow-ups, and resources that live below this node here, right? Now, the way to do this is by using parents and descendants, right? And so what this does, it goes back to design review of cortexfutura.com and starts looking only there for one of these tags. And of course, it does that with indentation in mind, right? So if we have here in the summary, we're looking for, again, highlights, follow-up, and resources. And what gets pulled in here is a highlight, a follow-up, and a resource, even though that resource is set up, indented like 2 or 3 levels somewhere. So it pulls in everything. It bubbles up everything relevant that we want to see. Now, one thing I want to highlight here is that this search with parents descendants really looks at every descendant of design review of cortexfutura.com, right? So it does not have to be indented here under notes, but I can add a highlight here. And now that I have added this here, I get this shown in the summary as well, even though it is not indented under the notes section. Now, one thing you might notice is that this add links to wiki, a follow-up from a previous meeting that I have referenced here, right? You see here the dotted line surrounding the main bullet point. This is not showing in the summary, right? And this is because the search parents descendants does not look at things that are referenced in. If you want to have references like this included, what you need to do is with refs, add that to the end, and now add links to wiki is added to the summary search as well. Now, what happens if you don't want agenda and summary to be direct descendants of design review of Cortex Futura, of the root node that we're talking about here? What if you want to have them inside a field, for example? We're going to look at that next. Now, what I've done here is I've added two fields, one for agenda and one for summary. And in each field, I have defined the exact same search that I have here in the search nodes we've seen previously, right? So agenda item meeting parent or not set and not done. And here, agenda item meeting parent not set, not done. As you will notice, though, is that for agenda, here we get results and here we don't. Why is that? Because this search is indented two levels, right? This search is indented within agenda, and agenda is inside the original root node design review of cortexfutura.com. So how do we get these nodes showing up here? What we need to do is, instead of parent here, we need to use grandparent. And if we do that, these three nodes show up. The same goes for the summary node. So if I look here, summary, all of these show up, but here nothing shows up. Why does nothing show up? Because I'm looking at parents' descendants. And again, in nodes here, the search node is indented in summary, and summary is indented within design review of cortexfutura.com, right? So parents' descendants looks at everything here below summary, and there's nothing there. So what we need to do is grandparents' descendants, and we will see all these four that we have, but again, without add link to wiki. And here what we can do again is we can do with refs and that to the end, and now add links to wiki shows up as well. Now, if you liked this video, you'll like this one as well, where I give you a planning system in Tana as a Supertag system. And maybe as a challenge, use what you've learned in this video in that video as well, because in that video, I'm not using the parent and parents' descendants search functionality much. So maybe for transfer loading, try that out. Also, if you want to learn how to build Supertag systems custom tailored to your own specific use case, check down below where I've linked my course Mastering Tana Core, where I teach you that in great detail. And otherwise, click like and subscribe, click the little bell to get notified of new videos, and I'll see you in the next video on Tana. Bye bye.